right, well, I'm excited about this series. Some of you guys are using this to holler at people in front of you at the red light. I found that out this morning. That's not really the idea. It's not for you to scream at people at a red light. Let's go. I'm challenging you. Let's go. All right. So as much as you're hollering at them, I'm hollering at you. Hey, let's go. Let's get moving. It's time to move. It's time to work. I just want to say real quick about was worship good? Man, worship was so good. So thankful for our band. Our dream team that shows up here before 8 o'clock every Sunday morning to make everything happen. So they are so awesome. They do such an incredible job. If you were looking for a drummer, he's not here this morning. Jeremy was doing the foot pedal. So the subs that you heard, the bass that you heard was coming out of that. So he was actually playing the drums and the guitar and singing at the same time. And I thought I was good. So Jeremy, he is so talented. He was crawling around on the floor trying to fix cabling issues this morning. So I'm so grateful for you, Jeremy Chafin. You're the Chafin family. I'm so proud of all of our dream teamers, life group leaders. Man, you guys are killing it. Life group has started. Y'all excited about life group getting going? So happy about that. Our group is the best group, but it's been, our group. Give it up for the young adult group. Where's our young adults at? Yeah, it's mostly women. So when you hear that high pitched voice, it's almost all women and a couple of guys. But we're getting there. Trevor, we're gonna get through it, brother. We're gonna make it. We're gonna do it. But Life Group is going, listen, and Life Group is here to help you take next steps. And that's really what I'm talking about in this series is how do you get plugged in? How do you take a next step? You may not know this, but I don't have the exact number, but I think 14 or 15 people graduated Growth Track last week and jumped on a team. And I'm telling you, our teams are getting bigger, they're getting better, they're getting stronger, but they still don't have you on it. So we still need you. You got to get plugged in, and there's a reason for that. So I want to share that this morning. Last week I left you, we talked about SOAR. If y'all remember the eagle, I don't know if you were walking on the shoreline or if you're gliding, but I'd rather be gliding than walking on. That was a ridiculous-looking eagle walking on the shoreline. So I don't know which one you are, but I want to help you soar today. And the last thing we talked about was run the race. And so today I want to really dig deep into that race. Hebrews chapter 12 is synonymous for this idea of the race. In fact, it says this. It says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses to the life of faith. So there's people watching us. There's people who've gone on. So if you read chapter 11, you'll hear about all the testimonies of incredible people who did incredible things through the power of faith. And so it's called the heroes of faith. In fact, we'll probably do a series later this year and just talk about the heroes of faith. We did that last year. And just pick out a few of them because there's so many men and women that did incredible things. So since we have this crowd of witnesses, so in other words, the ones who've gone on before us are watching us. He says, let us do this life of faith. Let us strip off every weight that slows us down. So there's something that's slowing you down. There's a reason he's saying there's people watching you. There's a cloud of witnesses around us. Strip off everything that slows you down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. So he's saying you have a purpose. You need to get going in the right direction. You got a race to run. He said, let us run with endurance the race that God has set before us. And so what I want to do today is the entire message comes out of this one verse. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. But what I want to do is we're going to do it from back to front. We're going to start at the end of the verse and go back to the beginning. So I'm going to give you three things about your race and my race. And I'm talking about the race that you're running, not your ethnic background. I'm talking about the race, the lanes that God has for you. God has a race for you to run. He has a specific goal with you in mind. He created you for a purpose. With a purpose in the church, outside of the church, in your family, at your job site, in your school, you have a purpose, especially in the church. Especially in the church, and we want to help you hone that. I'm telling you, when I started learning about relationships, and I was probably early 20s when my dad was teaching on relationships and personalities. Listen, we've been using that for a long time, but I want you to know that God has made you specifically different for a reason. There's a reason you're weird, okay? God made you weird for a reason. There's a spot for you. There's a place for you. So you feel like you're weird and you're different. That's the way God made you to be. And listen, if we were all the same and all robots, there'd be no uniqueness. And so God created us all different. It's incredible to see what God does with his people in his church. But he's created us that way. And maybe you haven't gotten on a team. Maybe you haven't jumped in. And I'm sitting here saying the light's green, let's go. And you're like, I went one time and I got into a wreck. I went one time and somebody rear-ended me. I went one time and I got pulled over by a cop, like spiritually speaking. You got in trouble, like something happened. Maybe the church hurt you, and God gave me this revelation today. I'm going to try to do this as pastorally as I can. I've been hurt by the church. But God gave me a revelation this week. There are some people here, including myself, that didn't get hurt by the church. They didn't get hurt by a member of the body. They got hurt by a member of the building. Woo, woo. See, my experience, I look back and I go, that dude didn't even know Jesus. I don't care if he had deacon in his name or not. I don't care if he's an elder or not. He needed Jesus. So some of us get hurt by a member of the building and not a member of the body, and we take it out on the body. Are y'all with me on that this morning? So don't, and this is very dangerous, and it's happening today in our society. We attribute the sins of a person to the sins of the group that person's involved in. And that's a very, very dangerous thing to do. But we do it. And a lot of you today, maybe some of you are on the sideline, you're going, oh man, I'm not doing that again. Boy, they chewed me up and spit me out. Maybe they just overused you. Maybe you got plugged in, you got burned out because nobody else would step up. That's what I love about our Dream Team. Do you know that we have over 160 Dream Teamers serving here? That's more. See, we can't even have a party here. We don't have enough chairs for all of you. That's incredible to me, but we're not done yet. And don't take that, oh, well, they got plenty. No, we need you. And not just to have another body, because you have a purpose. God's made you different. And don't let that wound of the past keep you out of the race. I'm telling you, it's a miracle that I'm even in church today, much less pastoring one. I didn't want to do this. I had nothing against it. Well, actually, I did. I didn't want to do it. I just did. I had 0 times in my life, can I tell you, before I turned 28, did I ever think about being a pastor. 0 times. I was going to be a professional baseball player. Had a nice swing, man. It was Ken Griffey good, all right? I was a better defender. But this ain't what I wanted to do. But the whole time, God was like, all right, I got this part worked out. All right, it's time to move on. And the whole time, God was molding me and making me into a pastor. And my dad will probably tell you, he sat there and watched it happen. I had no clue what was happening. It's kind of like that piece of pottery. You didn't look like anything until all of a sudden they're done, and like there it is. And by the way, I'm still working on being a pastor. I'm nowhere near where I need to be. What I'm telling you is some of you are out of the race because the building hurt you, not the body. Don't let that hold you back anymore. You got something that we need, the church needs, the Big C church needs. And so I want you to know today that God's got something lined up for you. So I'm going to give you 3 things about the race. And so I use the word my, so it's going to be my race. And so because I want you to take notes and you write down, so this is for you, right? This is for me. This is for you. Here's the first one I want to tell you is my race is already set. God already has a purpose. When he made you, in fact, the Bible says he knew you before you were ever conceived. He had a purpose for your life. I want you to think about that. God had a purpose for you. He had the end written before the beginning ever started. That's incredible. I can look back and see every job I ever had and say, okay, God was using this part of that. I hated that job. I didn't like that boss. I didn't like that situation. But God used that to help me here do this. I can look back and see a bunch of that. So can you. You can look back and see what God's done in relationships when you were a teenager or in your 20s and go, man, I learned my lesson in my teenage years. I'm not doing that when I get married. I needed to learn more than I learned because I tried to jack up my marriage early on. We talked about that a little bit in Wednesday night, and I don't have time to get into a relationship series. That's coming next, starting Valentine's Day. I don't know if y'all enjoy this complicated, but we're about to do a series called It's Still Complicated. Because guess what? It's still complicated. I've been married for about to be 20. In fact, next Sunday it'll be 23 years. Yeah, 23 years, yeah. We focus and not finish. You know what I'm saying? Like we still got to work on it. We still got issues. We got to work them out. But I want you to know that God, he's been working on you. He was working on you for that relationship. He's working on you for the race that he's got you to run. And so I can look back and I can see that. So your race is already set. That's what he tells us. That's at the end of the verse. He says, so God's laid out a race just for you. He set that race before you. The Bible tells us in 1 Corinthians about our race. He says, don't you realize that a race everyone runs, but only one person gets the prize? So run to win. Run with purpose. Listen, you don't join a track team just for exercise. I probably should, but I'm not going to. But if I get on a track, I'm going to try to win. It's in the Thomas blood. We are competitive. You play cards in my house, there will be cards that get bent up. You play with my brother, he's going to end up eating one of them. Stuff gets thrown across the table. We got issues. I'm telling you, we got issues. So we were sitting around, it was around Christmas time, probably last year before last, and somebody said, let's play Monopoly. And I said, well, we haven't hated each other today, so let's do it. It sounded fun. We used to play 2-on-2 in our driveway. It would be me and Kai against the girls. And we got video. I don't know if my girls are in here. I know Emily's not. She's in Oklahoma. I don't know if Megan's in here or not, but I'm telling you, Kai would go to shoot. He was this big. He would go to shoot. They would throw it across the yard, smash it against the house, and like bow up on him and stuff. I'm like, he's 3. But you play to win. This is a true story. When I have 2 brothers. My older brother is 7 years older than me, and my younger brother is 363 days younger than me. So we're what they call those Irish twins. And so yeah, we were super close. We were the boys. Anybody so close to a sibling, you're not a single, you're a double. You're like the boys, the girls, So that's what we were. I didn't even know my name till I was 18. I was just part of the boys. And so we were playing basketball one day in the driveway, and it was me and my dad against my 2 brothers. And so my dad's so competitive. Y'all were going at it, and me and Johnny always guarded each other, and so it got physical. I mean, he plays dirty anyway, so he's throwing elbows, and I'm pulling his shorts down, and we're almost going to blows. And my dad stopped the game, brought us into his office at the house. He turned the garage into an office, spanked us for fighting, because 2 things you didn't do in my house was lie to him and fight. If you fought, you're going to get beat twice. You know what I'm saying? In the fight and then him. And so he brought us in and spanked us. So we're like, wiping our tears. We're going to our bedroom. He's like, where y'all going? Well, I thought we were going to our room. The game's not over yet. He was winning. Yeah, you play to win. You run to win. Listen, we're not having this church you can come in here and feel good and go home leaving feeling good. We came to win. We started the church to win. We're doing this. We want life groups to win. We want dream teams to win. I'm not okay with just mediocre showing up. And listen, if you've been showing up, I'm good. I'm glad you're showing up, but it's time to get plugged in. It's time to get off the sidelines and get plugged in. He says, when you run the race to win. Look at the next verse. All athletes are disciplined in their training. They do it to win a prize that will fade away, but we do it for an eternal prize. So we talked about that in prayer time this morning. Every Sunday morning, 8:30, we have prayer time. It is powerful. And we talked about we need to focus on eternity. I didn't even tell y'all this was in my message today, but we focus on eternity. Like we need to see everybody as an eternal soul. You know why? Because they are. Where are they going to be in 100 years? Where are they going to spend eternity? That matters. He said we play to win. We play for an eternal prize. Now, we all have gifts. God's made us specifically for those gifts. In fact, 1 Peter 4:10 says, God has given us each of you a gift from his great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well, and here's why, to serve one another. See, you're on a team for a reason. A quarterback's a quarterback for a reason. He's not a linebacker because he ain't built right. All right? You don't put a center at point guard. Sometimes you can, but you don't put Shaquille O'Neal very rarely brought the ball up the court in basketball. As good as he was, professional ball player, you don't let big guys dribble. You know why? Because they're this much further from the ground. When I was in high school, our coach was like, when the big guy gets it, I was running point guard. I'm a big point guard. I wasn't this big back then, but he said, as a point guard, when the big guy gets it, you go get it. So, next time down the court, I didn't like getting yelled at. So next time he got a rebound, I ran over to him. I got so close to him to get the ball from him. He turned, and when he did, his nose hit my shoulder, broke his nose. He wore a mask his whole senior year because I was just following. But he said, I don't want him dribbling. He gets the rebound, you dribble. Listen, you have a part to play. Maybe you say, I can't get on stage and preach. Good. You don't need to. We got people that can do that. I can't lead a life group. That's okay. We got somebody that will. Now, here's what I have found. People who didn't even want to go to life group are now leading life group. That's just what you think. Because sometimes our gifts are dormant, and they're just laying there. And then when we start taking a step, they get activated. Yeah, this is better than I thought it was going to be. See, you got to take that step. I didn't know what kind of pastor I was going to be. I'd never done it before. But you got to take the step. Get into Growth Track. Next Sunday, you can kick it off. Super Bowl Sunday, it'll be the beginning of the beginning for you. Just take that step on Super Bowl Sunday. Go to life group for the next 4 weeks. I'm telling you, we'll find a team that fits you and fits you right. And here's why. We do it to use them well, to serve one another, to make a difference. Let me tell you about your gift real quick. God's laid out this, like I said earlier, my race is set, my lane is set. God's got a focus for me and a reason for me to do it because he made me for it. And look at this verse I want you to see. Romans 11:29, it says this, for God's gift and his call can never be withdrawn. The calling God put on you when you were 7, 8, 10, 87, he ain't never taking it back. They'll never be withdrawn. It comes without repentance. He never changes his mind about the calling that he has on your life. So that tendency that you have to be that leader at work, that tendency that you have to be that encourager, that's because God put a calling on you to do that, and he's never going to take it back. So you might be able to wait it out, but it's going to be there the whole time. You think you're waiting it out. God's like, the light is still green. It's still green. That's why the bumper said the light's green. It's time to go. Let's go. It's time to get moving. So my race is set, and your race is set, and you have lanes, and you have specific. Listen, there are people in this church that have passions that I'll never have. Passions to do things that I love it. I love that they fit in, and God's called them to it, but I'm sitting there going, man, that just ain't something that excites me, but I'm glad it excites you. Let's empower you to go do that. And so I want you to know, listen, that there are people who are incredible singers. You don't want me with a microphone on the stage before it's time to preach. I'm just telling you. I might serenade Amy next week for our anniversary, though. So y'all come, all right? I don't mean for that to keep you home, but I want you to know that you have a place and you have a purpose and God's called you to it. And don't let somebody who is a member of the building and not the body keep you from doing it. I know that wound is deep. I know that wound is maybe even fresh for you. But you know what? I know God can heal in a moment. If he can raise the dead, he can heal what you're going through. He can do it. Your race is set. My race is set. Here's number 2 I want to give you. My race has obstacles. Just because you get in that lane and start running doesn't mean you ain't going to come up against something. That's the biggest misconception in Christianity is that once you get saved, there's no more problems. No, there's probably be more problems. You're probably going to see a few more because God's calling you to higher things. He's calling you to take steps that you never were going to take before. So my race and your race has obstacles. There's going to be some things we have to overcome. He tells us that back in our verse, Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. He says, so let's throw everything that hinders and the sin that easily entangles. And that phrase for easily entangles means to skillfully surround. So the devil skillfully surrounds you with things that will hold you up. Because there's some things that will hold you up that won't hold me up. There's some things that hold me up and trip me up that won't trip you up. He knows where to get your goat. That's what I'm telling you. The devil knows where you keep your goat. If you don't know what that means, it means he knows that little thing that triggers you. If you got an anger problem, he's going to make sure somebody gets in front of you and doesn't go when the light turns green. If you got an issue with pride, he's going to make sure somebody comes in and starts filling your head with stuff and make your head blow up, and you can't even fit through that door if you got pride problems. You got a problem with lust, just get on social media or anywhere on the website. Anywhere. Get on Google. It don't matter. Something's going to pop up. I'm telling you right now that God he's sovereign and all those things, but I'm telling you there's some things the enemy wants to throw at you to trip you up. He's going to skillfully surround you. But here's the thing I want you to see. There's things that hinder and the sin. Now, it's interesting to me that he separated that because I would have just thought it's just sin. No, it's things that easily entangle and the sin. So here's what I want you to see. Here's a different version. Here's the NLT. It says especially the sin that trips us up. So there are some things that are on you and there are some things that are in front of you. So I want you to see this separation here. He says the sin and the thing that weighs you down, the thing that entangles you, the thing that slows you down, and the thing that entangles you. So here's what I want you to see. These are 2 different things. These are 2 different things. In fact, here's how I want to say it this morning. Weight slows you down and sin trips you up. So there's a weight on you and there's sin out in front of you, and we have to know the difference. And I'm about to give you the difference. This is very important that we know that this difference because there are sins in our life that are very obvious. There are some things that you're doing. In fact, a sinner knows he's a sinner. If you're a drunkard, you know you're a drunkard. If you're a liar, you know you're a liar. Listen, thieves know they're thieves. You know how I know? They wear masks and gloves. And I don't mean the blue ones. See, the sin you see, the weight you don't. I'm going to explain that a little bit better here in just a second. But there are some things that are very obvious that are sin. Here's a list that he gives us in Galatians 5:19. He says, when you follow the desires of your sinful nature, there's your first problem. Let me just stop right here and just tell you a phrase that you need to walk away from. Anybody gives you this phrase, you just need to say, I got to go. I got to see you later. I can't take this advice from you. Here it is. Just do you, boo. You didn't think you were going to hear boo on the stage today, did you? Just do you, boo. No. Boo is jacked up. That's the worst advice ever. You know how I know? The Bible says the heart is deceitfully wicked above all things. Who can know it? Don't follow your heart. Don't follow your heart. It's going to lead you into some deep, dark places. If the devil's going to just get you, oh, yeah, it's in your heart. No, follow his heart. So when you follow the desires of your sinful nature, some things are going to show up, and they're going to be very obvious. It says the results are very clear. Again, you don't have to wonder if somebody is a compulsive liar. I've worked with some people who are compulsive liars, and they'd rather climb a 20-foot pole and tell the lie than they would stand in front of you and tell the truth. You know what I'm talking about. You know some of those people. If you don't know any of them, it might be you. But there's just people, they just embezzle, and what's that word? Embellish, yes, that's a good word. Embellish stories, and you're like, they want you to like them so much, you just keep talking, and the more they talk, the crazier the story gets, and all of a sudden a unicorn pops out, and it just gets crazy, because they just can't help it. They want to impress you so bad. So here's some of them. So some of the stuff is so obvious you can't miss it. Sexual immorality. Now in society today, just do you, boo, means you can go do whoever, whenever, whatever you want to do. And I just want to stop right here, and we talked about this a little bit in prayer time this morning, but I want to stop right here and say, some of the things that are in the world today are byproducts of an evil heart. In fact, most of the things in the world. I'd say all the things, but let's just talk about abortion just for a second. Abortion is an easy way out of a mistake that we made, that we feel like we made a month before, 2 months before. Now they're even trying to say 9 months before. So you can go make the mistake, and then you can just do away with it. See, abortion is not the problem, it's a symptom of the problem. Y'all with me today? A corrupt government, or corrupt school system, or corrupt job that you're in, that's just evidence of something at the core that we really need to get to. And he said these things are obvious. Sexual immorality, which is sex outside the marriage, is what it means. That's what it is. So that's what he said. That's very obvious. Impurity, lustful pleasures. Here's a few more. Idolatry, sorcery. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. By the way, let me just talk about idolatry just for a second. Some of you are worshiping some things in your home and you don't even know it because the first thing you wake up and look at when you ain't even got the sleep out of your eyes. You got your phone pulled up trying to see what everybody else is going, what they're doing. Here's what I want to tell you about your race real quick. Start running your race and stop scrolling through everybody else's. I'm preaching good today. Thank you, Lord. He said these things are obvious. Now, sorcery, I'm going to get to that. It's not quite as obvious. I'm going to tell you why in a second. Idolatry, are you worshiping your phone? How do you know? Is it the first thing you look at when you get up and the last thing you look at when you go to bed? And I ain't talking about the YouVersion Bible app either. I'm talking about everything else on it. It can be a powerful tool. Listen, it's an amazing slave. It's a horrible master. Another good little nugget right there. That's freebie. So sorcery, hostility. And I want you to get this. All these are lumped in the same verse. Everything that I'm sharing with you is all put together. So not one is not worse than the other. He's lumping them all together. Quarreling, jealousy. Your jealousy showing? Some of y'all, jealousy is a problem for you. The big boat you just bought is because you got an 18-footer because your neighbor just got a 16-footer. That's a problem. Forget the Joneses. They ain't paying the note, you are. So jealousy is a problem. Outbursts of anger. Back to a car, right? Back to a vehicle. I got to just pray, like, I got to anoint my truck with oil now and just be like, God, don't let anything negative come out of this thing, because I'm going to get to this red light, and I just know there's going to be somebody sitting in front of me trying to do their makeup, eat their biscuit, and get on their phone all at the same time. I'm hungry. A biscuit sounds good right now. A little side note, have y'all ever had coffee, milk, and biscuit? So if you take a plate and you pour coffee in it, and then you pour milk, and then you mix it up with a fork real good, and you take a biscuit and you lay it on it, and then you got to eat it fast because it gets cold and soggy real quick, but you got to eat it real fast. But man, it's good. But people trying to eat a full-blown meal in the car, you're like, it's green, let's go. Hey, stick your head out the window tomorrow and say, my pastor said, let's go. Get on them. Outbursts of anger. Look, I have to deal with that recently. I don't know what's going on in my world, but that's been coming out of me quite a bit. I just get frustrated easy. Selfish ambition, dissension, and division. Now, let me go to sorcery real quick. So some of this sin is in front of you. It trips you up. But some of this is weight on you. And this word sorcery is pretty interesting. Another translation, most translations actually say witchcraft. And so witchcraft is that weight that gets put on you. And what sorcery really means, or witchcraft means, is a poisoning. So this is the weight I'm talking about. So we got the sin that trips us up. That's the things I just listed. Now, to me, sorcery is going to be something, and listen, witchcraft is very real, by the way. It's very real. And then maybe you hadn't learned that. Maybe you think it's just a bunch of mumbo-jumbo. And I want you to know that sorcery is very real. Curses are very real. People put curses on you all the time. You putting curses on your kids, you don't even know it. In fact, it's funny because in Galatians, he actually writes this to the Galatian church and says this, "O foolish Galatians, who has had an evil spell on you? Who put an evil spell on you? For the meaning of Jesus Christ's death was made as clear to you as if you had seen the picture of his death on the cross." In other words, I painted the picture for you, and now you've gone away from that. Maybe now you're saying that that's not really how you get to heaven. And they had all this mixed up stuff they were trying to do. And what he was saying was, has anybody put a spell on you? In other words, somebody has blinded your eyes from seeing it. It's very real. I'm telling you, witchcraft is very real. It's very real in Louisiana. You get around, you can almost feel it in New Orleans. Sometimes certain areas, you drive through there, you're just like, oh, man, whew, just give you the heebie-jeebies. I don't even eat voodoo chips. I ain't tried one yet. I better not, because they probably really good. Are they good? Bunch of sinners. That was a joke. It was a joke. I don't care if y'all eat voodoo chips. I'm just not eating any of them. I might be taking it too far, but that's all right. Hey, my dad didn't let us watch He-Man when I was growing up. You know what I'm saying? Smurfs. We couldn't watch the Smurfs. Anybody not be able to watch the Smurfs? No homeschoolers in the house, I guess. Yes, I was homeschooled, and I came out all right, I think. He said, it's right in front of you, but somebody has kind of blinded your minds, and they did that. And he's saying, and it's funny because he asked the question. Now, did it really happen? I don't know. But he's saying, did somebody put an evil spell? In other words, what he's saying is somebody could have spoke something over you. And I want to challenge you this morning that sometimes we speak things over our kids, and we're putting curses on our kids. You're never going to amount to anything. If you don't pass this class, you're going to be a homeless bum that never amounts to anything. Calling our kids stupid. Please don't do that. And here's why. Because the Bible tells us very clearly that the tongue has the power of life and death. In fact, some versions say death and life are in the power of the tongue. Death comes first is the first thing we think of. Sometimes, here's how you know if you're a more negative than positive person. When your kid brings a report card home and they have 5 A's and 1 B, what do you see? I see the B. I got to work on that. I'm like, oh, dude, 5 A's, that's amazing. Man, that 1 B, you could have worked a little bit harder and got it up. So it's what you see because we say what we see. And if you're in a place of authority, this is even more powerful. Sometimes we're saying these things we should be saying, and we put in curses. And this is the weight I'm talking about. The sorcery is the weight that you don't even know that you have. So you have sin that's in front of you. These are the obstacles. Sin's in front of you. The weight is on you. Y'all getting that today? You have it on you, and you can't even really see it. See, when you start putting weight on, you don't always see it. I'll give you an example. So for Christmas, I got my wife a doorbell. Yes, I'm an amazing gift giver. I spent so much time and energy. No, it's the only thing she said she wanted, so I got her a doorbell for Christmas. How amazing is that? But it's one of those Ring doorbells. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm talking about, where you actually see the video and stuff. And so anyway, one day I was just playing with it, and I'm looking at the videos. I'm seeing how far back I could go, and I'm like, who is that? Who's walking in front of our doorbell? Who's this big old fat dude that's walking in front of our doorbell? See, the mirror, I don't see it in the mirror, but in the video, I see it. Anybody? You don't see it in the mirror, but you saw it in the picture, right? That's why you stood behind somebody, poked your head out, because you didn't. But guess what? I found out if my tummy's fat, so is my face, so I ain't really been able to hide much. But this is when you have a weight on you, sometimes everybody else can see it but you. The scale was wrong. No, it wasn't. Got on the scale one time, he was like, get off, get off, get off. but you got stuff you're adding to you, and you don't even know it spiritually, and it happens physically too. This is real stuff, y'all. Anybody, you see a video and you're like, I ain't that big, am I? It happens. But what's happening in the spiritual realm is somebody's putting some things on you through the words that they're speaking. If you leave this church, your whole family's going to fall apart. By the way, that's not a church, that's a cult. And if you're in a place of authority, y'all, I can't tell you how important your words are. In fact, let me just say it like this. The power of your words will be intensified if you're in a place of authority. I was just going to tell you, but I wanted you to see it. It's intensified. You got to see that. There's obstacles. Stop saying those things. And you can break that curse, by the way, and just say, Father, in Jesus' name, I break any curse that's on me and my family all the way back to Adam, and it's broken, and you can live an amazing life and watch things happen, and finances get loosened up. It's incredible. But you're wearing that weight. You don't even know it. Your parents put it on you. Somebody else put it on you. You put it on yourself. I'm stupid. I'm dumb. I'm never going to get this. I'm never going to get that job. Stop saying that. You're putting weight on yourself spiritually. There's obstacles. Here's number 3 I want to give you, and that is my race is a relay. This is probably the most important part. Don't miss this. My race is a relay. It's a relay race. Let's go back to our verse real quick. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down. And here's why. Because your race is a relay. It says there's a cloud of witnesses that are around us. This is what I want you to focus on here. It's the cloud of witnesses that are watching us. This is a big deal. Here's the saddest verse in the Bible. Back in Judges, watch this. Some things happened and things were going on and some leaders died. And here's what happened. The Bible says after that generation died, another generation grew up and did not acknowledge the Lord or remember the mighty things that he had done. That's the saddest verse in the Bible. God was an incredible God to the Israelites, and the whole generation grew up and didn't even know it. Why? Because they did not pass the baton. They didn't pass the baton. Real quick, let me just tell you about our women's relay team in the USA Olympics. In 2000, they were set to win the Olympics, and they got a little sloppy in the exchange, in one of their exchanges, and they ended up getting a bronze instead of a gold. You ever been sloppy in your exchange in your Christianity? You didn't get the baton in there in time. It got sloppy with your family or with the next generation. So they got sloppy. In 2004, the same team, incredible talent, supposed to win the gold. They handed the baton off outside of the exchange zone. I don't know if you know that, but there's only a certain area, there's only 20 meters you can actually hand the baton off. And they didn't do it in the exchange zone, and the whole team was disqualified. There's a window of opportunity for you to pass that baton off. There's a window of opportunity. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. That's why we are laser focused on our JV Dream Team. You know what I found out? The kids that start going to college, I don't know the number, but it's like 85% of them drop out of church when they go to college, when they get that age. We want to plug them in 6th grade. And we're seeing them stick around even after they graduate. We're laser focused. The exchange zone is only a certain amount. You only have so much really influence on your family. You always have influence, but direct influence is only a certain amount. In 2008, the same team, supposed to win again, they dropped the baton. So that's 3 in a row. 2012, they actually won gold. Same talent, same team, different result because they passed the baton off. You got to pass the baton off. Here's why. Because the generation ahead that was behind us is watching. In fact, that's what it tells us. That we read that verse already. But here's the end of 11. After he talks about the amazing people of faith, this is what he says. All these people earned a good reputation because of their faith, and yet none of them received all they God had promised. Now watch this. Here's what I want you to see. This is how important the baton is. Since God had planned something better for us so that only together with us would they be made perfect. You know what that sounds like to me? That he's waiting to reward them when we finish. He says he's got something better planned, but he ain't doing it until we all pass the finish line. And that word for made perfect, it actually means to complete, to carry through completely, to accomplish, to finish, to bring to an end. The baton is in your hand. Are you going to pass it off? Are you going to spend that extra time with your kids? Are you going to pour into the next generation in the kids building? But listen, we saw some prayer requests in the kids building for our 21 days of prayer that will break your heart. You know why? Because they're like, something's going on and I need some prayer. I know somebody that needs some prayer. We're passing the baton. That's what we're all about here on Sunday morning. We're giving the baton to the next generation. Help us do it. How do we do it? How do we pass that baton off? Real simple. The next verse in Hebrews 12 is verse 2. It says we do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. And here's why. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding shame. He is now seated in the place of honor right beside God. How do we pass the baton off? We keep our eyes on him. Oh, this is going on in the world. We keep our eyes on him. Oh, my job's about to fall apart. We keep our eyes on him. Well, what if this happens in the school system? We keep our eyes on him. He is your provider, not your job. We answer to God. So my question I want to leave you with this morning is, will you be like Isaiah? Isaiah had a big challenge in front of him. In fact, God starts to tell Isaiah, he says, look, I'm going to send you out and ain't nobody going to listen. I'm going to send you to the hardest place. You're probably not going to see any results, but I need somebody to go. I need somebody that's going to step up, even if it looks like the wall is too high to climb and the ocean is too far to cross. I need somebody that's going to step up, even though it looks like it's impossible. And here's what Isaiah said. He said, who's going to go for us? Who shall I send as a messenger to these people? Who will go for us? And he said, here am I. Send me. Here am I. Send me. We need some Isaiahs in the church. We need you today. And I'm not trying to just bulk up some teams so it makes everybody's. No, you have something to offer. God has set a race in front of you. There's going to be obstacles you have to overcome. But listen, it's a relay race. So guess what happens if you drop the baton, the next generation just falls to the side. More and more young people are falling out of the church. They just got hurt by the building and not the body. I want to challenge you today. Be Isaiah. I know the road's going to be hard. I know it's going to be tough. I know I got to give up. Y'all, listen, we're challenging you to give up 2 hours of your month to join a dream team. You watch more of Netflix than that tonight. Listen, and I'm telling you, and it's not just to show up here and, I got to fill a spot. No, we're handing the baton off. This is bigger than just a Sunday morning, y'all. I want y'all to see that. Let's go. It's time to get moving. This is bigger than just today. It's bigger than the last day of January. We're talking about eternity. We need to get serious. Because here's the saddest thing that I know. We're all in a race, and some of you don't even know you're running. There was a season in my life I didn't know I was supposed to be running. I quit leading my family. Church wasn't that important. I let other things get in the way. Life happened. But I'm so glad God called me back. It's time. It's time to pass the baton. the next generation is coming. The cloud of witnesses is waiting for their reward. Let's don't let them down.